Hi guys. So what am I finally gonna do today? Because I haven't been doing a whole lot these days, at least not with all of my arts and crafts. So I've been working on this fun book. It's called the Cut Up Book. So cut up means to divide into pieces with a sharp implement. So what I did is I did a perfect binding, and that's what it's called. And I put it in this old book, and this is going to be a art collection where I can take all of my project pieces and cut bits out, use parts and pieces, but it all stays together in one book. So today I was going to show you how I made this. I am going to start with an old book cover, and you can make your own book cover. You can, anything you would like, but you want these three sides. So whether you use a cool paper and then just put chipboard on this side and leave this, you want to put something in here, but a lighter weight cardboard or a piece of fabric would probably be wonderful. You could take some beautiful decoupage papers or any type of papers that you would like, and you can decoupage them on there, glue them in another way, use heavy duty tape. You could paint your book and then stamp your book. You could do, there's so many different options to cover your book. I wanted to use this old ledger paper. This is from, you can see it says 1848 on it right there. Isn't that cool? So I thought I would use this. So what I'm going to do to adhere this to my book is I'm going to use some heat and bond, and that's a fusible web. So heat and bond, steam-a-seam, you want like a double-sided so it will stick to both sides, and all you do is iron it down. I'm going to iron this down and just carefully go to here and then cut these edges so my iron doesn't touch this. This is like the rubbery type tacky side, and this is the parchment side. So what I'll start with is I'll get my iron and I'll kind of do it in the middle so it holds it tightly. Then I'll go a little closer, I'll trim this and finish ironing it, and it will be adhered very, very well. Okay, so I am working in my little craft room right now. Okay, so what I'm going to do is at the top, I'm just going to put a piece of parchment paper over it, at least till I get some of this ironed down. Anything you're going to use this with, you want to make sure you have parchment paper over it. Only because some papers, the ink will come off and it'll get on your iron. It's really, really messy. And also, if you have this showing and your iron touches that, it'll be very, very sticky. Okay, so it's fairly stable. So what I'm going to finish ironing it with that, but I'm also going to start trimming some of these edges. And by the time I do get this onto my book, it is going to be very permanent. That's what I really love with this. It's permanent. And sometimes it's just a easier step than doing decoupage. I could still use my decoupage papers, but I would just put it on with this. You're not going to get any wrinkles, anything, no goo. It's just by the time you get this on there, it's on there forever. If you ever done applique work, you might know what I'm talking about where you get it down. I'm using a heavier duty heat and bond. Usually for applique, you're probably going to use a lighter weight so you can sew through it easier. Set this on my parchment paper. So even if there's a little edge, I don't know if there is, it'll go onto the parchment paper. So I probably should have showed you this from the beginning. So when I do this, I lay my book out like this, and I need to make sure it is covering both sides, and we'll fold over some. And you got to remember when you do this and you pull it up, you need to make sure that it will bend up. And that's how big I make my outside. You could just piece pieces together and put pieces over other pieces or whatever you would like. This is just how I like to do it, and this ledger page happened to be that size. And then I decided which side I wanted to be the outside, which is this, and I put the heat and bond on the back side. So now what I'm going to do, it's cooled off a bit, and you're going to see, hopefully you can see that it's very shiny. And that's where the adhesive is. See how shiny that is? The adhesive is all on there. See, the other side is not shiny. This side is very shiny. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is decide which way do I want to put it? Do you want it to go like that? I want it to go like that. So you kind of just decide what you would like. With this is going to fold under. This has got a little bit more of an opening, so I could maybe put a title here if I wanted. So I think I'm going to go this way. I'm going to try to line it up best I can, trying to make it really in the center. Turn it over. Would like a little bit of this showing, but I want to give enough to fold over. So what I'm going to do is start right here. And if it looks like this ink is going to bleed at all on my iron, because this is an original, so whatever they used is actually on that. And I can feel my book. And it's lifted up enough. This isn't going to stick to the parchment paper. So I'm just going to get it part there. Let's see. Hold my book in. Look kind of nice and tight. Whoops, I don't want that to go to that. I just want to go just on the book and not go too far, because fold it over, this will glue itself to the other part. Make some slits right there. Do it on the other side. Where the folds are. And I am going to cut these corners. There, and that's going to get glued down right there. Actually, I think I will do this front first. Got that. I'm going to do the spine right here. And if you do this, you're going to find what works better. You just got to watch your book and make sure you're giving enough room for your spine so when you bend it, it doesn't rip. Pulling this down a bit. Now I'm going to fold these edges up, and I think I'm going to cut this one a bit so it's straight. Okay, I've got the inside, so I'm just going to go through the outside. Get that nice and flattened out. So these inside pages, I could just leave like that. And it really wouldn't matter because all of my pieces are going to be in the center. But I thought I wanted to add something fun like this. So I cut another piece, side which I want to be, that be the front. So I will put this on the back. And then also I cut a piece for this side that I'll use over there. So I'm just going to move this out of the way, and I am just going to start to iron the center of these, and then I will trim them up a bit. But once again, you could just decoupage something on there, leave it just the color it is, because it actually does kind of match what I've got going on there. I'm just going to lightly cut. I'm not too worried about this. Slightly cut the edges of these. I can see I didn't get something all the way to the edge here, but I'm not too worried. If it's really coming up a lot, I can just stick a little glue under there. Otherwise, I'm just going to iron this all the way to the edges, let it cool off, and we'll iron it into the book. I'm going to move this out of my way. See, it's nice and shiny there. And that's nice and shiny. So here's my front. And I want the straight edge on the inside. I could do it the opposite way, but I kind of like this. And if I have to cut a little bit off, I do. I'm not too worried. So I am going to iron this. And if there are a few little edges that didn't get the heat and bond, then I'll just put a little bit of glue there. So I'm here long enough so it really melts in there. And also, I really want that adhered down really well in the center. And you'll see why when we put our glue strips on there for binding the whole book. Look at that. How fun. Now, some of this is going to be covered up, so it doesn't really matter. So I think that'll be fine. If you want to put a strip of something down there, you're just welcome to. But you want to make sure it's adhered very, very, very well. I decided I wanted this somewhere in here, so I think I'm going to put this on the back page. But you know what? I may do it later and just use double stick tape. Or I may just use 3 sides and use it as a pocket. So I'm going to let that one go for now. Now we're going to decide what we want to put in here. And I had thought of several different ideas. So I have some really fun cards that you can see. And this is like on a heavy handmade paper. And they have fun things or fun sayings on them. Once again, I went through my stashes of cool papers, wallpapers, different textures, some more handmade papers, more like a Loca paper, an old book, and I love just the writing and the brownness on there. And here are some more of my Japanese papers and old school books and charts and just fun things in this. So I just collected a bunch of fun things that I could put in here. And then I made this fun little envelope. So what I think I'm going to do with this, so you don't have to rip them out, some stamped images I've done. And these are smaller, so I decided in this book I'm going to put them in a pocket. So I wanted to use all these, and I really debated on it, but then I realized, you know what, I want to have to cut these out. So they all eventually will be shoved in this envelope, and that's going to be really, really fun. So I'm going to pull all this out of here again. And so what I'm going to do is either sew or use heavy double stick tape on these two sides. And I will put those down. But I don't even need to do that right away. We also have some other fun envelopes. I'll show you how I am going to put this in. And then I thought, oh my gosh, this would be fun just to put a lot of different file folders in here. You could sew the one bottom edge if you wanted to. After I get it put in there, I am just going to glue this to the back and have these hanging. You can tie it up, or actually you could go like this too. So this is going to get glued into the center of your book, and when you get everything in, this will be glued to the inside of the book, but you can tie this up so nothing falls out. And I thought if you took file folders, you could cut them up, and so they fit in here, or maybe just a little smaller than this. And same thing, you could have a ribbon under each one, or this way, but if you put it in this way, it will be glued into the center of the book, and you can just fill all those file folders up full of fun stuff. And if you want to make sure it doesn't fall down, you could sew the bottom of the file folder or tape it, or just have things coming out this way. So that's just another fun idea. Or just use a lot of envelopes. The very bottom of it will be glued in, but you can have them just open, maybe put tabs on them so you know what you're looking at. So let's just start compiling this, see how I want it in here to start. This is going to go in my inside cover. And you can make it just so it looks pretty. You can make it any way you want. Some of these pieces I am going to bind in, if they're not as big as the book. I'm trying to just kind of line them up. Let's start with the back edge. I know this will fit right there. And I know this will fit right there, and I'm just trying to lining it up. These are a little shorter, but I don't know if it matters, but you can go up and down. I might do a few up and a few down. And you can see I've done that with my wallpaper. Let's just make sure I've got these lined up nicely. You need to make sure everything needs to go all the way to this edge. I will tap it and move it a bit when I get them put in. And I definitely want my straightest edge into the center. And anything you want to put in like this, if you really want to be able to get the whole thing, make sure you leave like a white border or a border that if you cut it out, you're able to do that without ripping your whole project up. You know, I may want to put that on here. It is so cool. Like I said, the area that has the biggest border is what I'd like to put into the inside. I really want it tapped down well. I'm going to move this guy out of the way. That right there. I think we're going to add a few envelopes. I will put this one here. You know, I may put this one and this one here. And you might want to think about it. I'm keeping my flaps when you open it this way, but it doesn't really matter, so you can get your items out. I'm just moving it out of the way so when the glue hits this doesn't get stuck in there. Maybe I'll put this guy up here, this one down here, and it may not seem super full, but we have all those things we're putting into the envelopes. Pick it all up. Really want to make sure that's good. So I am using these 24 millimeter glue strips. Now these are 1 inch. Now if I needed more, I could add more to this edge or this edge. And I don't really want to waste this. So in case I just want to do a small little thing, this will be just so quick and easy. And I can put it back on here. So if I had like a 2-inch book, I could use 2 of these, decide where I need to go to, and it's really heavy duty sticky on one side. So what I'm going to do now is start my machine, and then I will move it up so you can see it. So let's see if this is getting warm, and I will move this little guy up here. What I'm using, as you can see, lots of different textures, and it's in different areas, and they move around. It's a little bit different. So what I'm going to do is make sure I've lined these up into the center. Bring my book up. Make sure it's where I want it. So this is actually a it's called Perfect Binding, and it's a machine for perfect binding. You can find them on Amazon. You can get different types. You can have ones that do different widths. Because like this one will still get, it's pretty wide. I bet it would get to like 3 inches. And they're all different. There are different ones that are a lot smaller. You can only do like a 1/2 inch. And I wanted something that would do things that were a little bigger. So I am going to get a clip. Let me grab a couple clips. And what I really want is, there's a little gap. I want that nice and tight. So I'm just going to make sure it's really pushed down. I'll clip the top for sure. If you look in there, I can see a few that don't look like they're touching. So let's take this off. Tap again. Clamp it. Okay, so on my machine, so I turn it on. It says warm. So you let that heat up. And it should go fairly quickly. Did you see that? It says run. Now I'm going to select 2. And now it's on 3. I'm going to open this up. Set this book in. Make sure it's up and down, nice and tight. And I'm just going to let it run until it beeps. And then we're going to let it cool off. And then we'll take a look and see how it looks. So you can hear it beep again, and that means it's done. So what I'm going to do is pull it out. And behind it, there is a little slot to let it cool. And we're going to let it cool for about 5 minutes. Just give it another minute or 2, and we'll see. Let's get back to this book and see if it's cooled off. Open this up. Okay, that's glued in there. I don't want to pull too hard yet. Yeah, these are in here fairly well so far. This one didn't get in. Now, if I wanted to, and I'm not too worried about it right now, I could actually put this back in, push it down in, or move it in the area where it might show a little more glue, because I can see this a little bit up in here, and I can re-stick it into the machine. I had to do that a couple times with my other book because I had so much dimension and so much stuff in there. Now I haven't glued these down yet, but I'm just going to glue them down. This was a nice big stack. And you can see how nice and thick this is. Maybe add something fun to it, like the cut-up buck, like I did with this, because I thought that was just really cute. So I hope you guys thought this was kind of fun, and we'll see you guys soon. Hope you have fun with this, and happy Thanksgiving!